you can determine how much life affects you, what's going on around you. Can you reduce stress to 0? Probably not. Can you take it from a 9 down to a 5? Absolutely, without question. So if you blame people and things around you that you're at a 9, when managing your thoughts could get your stress level down to a 5, then guess what? Your surroundings might be responsible for the 5, but you're responsible for the 4 that you added to the 5 to make your stress a 9, if that makes sense. So we're talking about this whole idea of capture, question, replace, and we're talking about this whole idea of thought awareness training, meaning if you're going to get proficient at be transformed by the renewing of your mind, if you're going to get proficient at as a man thinks in his heart, so is he, we've got to figure out how to help you learn to be mindful of what your mind's full of. In other words, well, you've got to learn how to think about what you're thinking about. Excuse me. So I've got a little metaphor picture for you today, and I tested it on my wife to see if she liked it, and it made sense, and it seemed to work pretty well. So thought awareness training. How can I get better at capturing thoughts that are counterproductive to making life as enjoyable, productive, and moving me into the areas I want to move into in my relationships, my pursuit of my calling and destiny, my income, everything. All right? So thought awareness training. I want you to imagine you've been hired by my company, and I'm a cookie making company, a little bit old school because we still use people for everything virtually. So I want you to imagine that you're being trained to stand at a conveyor belt, right? Just steady moving, and the cookies come out, and your job is to stand at the conveyor belt and recognize and remove defective cookies. In other words, cookies that are too small or whatever, you know what I mean. In other words, you have an idea of what you're looking for, and your job is to watch all those cookies going by and pick out the defective cookies, all right? Now, I want you to think about it. I just hired you. You've never done it before. So how do you get better at anything? Most people are going to pretty quickly come up with the word practice. You practice. Okay, so what if I'm a smart guy? Let's pretend that I am, okay? I'm not sure if it's true, but let's pretend that I am a smart guy. But let's pretend I'm also a loving guy, and I'm running this company, but I want you to be blessed. I want you to enjoy your work, and I want you to leave feeling good about your work, but also yourself. So I'm mindful of creating an environment that will help you succeed and also feel good when you're doing it. So how do you get good at doing your new job of recognizing cookies, right? Well, practice. What makes practice work? What makes it effective? What makes it almost guaranteed that if you show up, you're going to get better at what you're doing? And I want you to catch that phrase. I want to create an environment where basically if you just show up, please remember that. If you just show up, you're going to get better at what I want you to be good at. All right? So what's going to help? What are the conditions that's going to make practicing catching the defective cookies on the conveyor belt? What's going to make that the optimum conditions for you to learn and grow in your proficiency and enjoyment of capturing defective cookies? All right? Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things. There's internal and external. On the external, in other words, that's, you could say, the side that I control. So I'm training you. I want you to get good at this. Well, one of the things I could do is initially I could slow the belt down. In other words, I could regulate the speed of the belt so that it's moving at a nice slow speed, and you can kind of like, oh, okay, there's a defective cookie. And you have time to absorb its appearance, you know what I mean, to recognize it. So I could slow the belt down. What else? I could limit distractions in the training room. There could be no one in the room but you. How about this? I let you know there's no cameras running. There's no one looking over your shoulder. Listen to this now. There's no one even counting how many defective cookies you recognize and how many you miss. In other words, you're not even being graded. You're not even being measured. Now, what am I trying to say to you? All I want you to do is show up. All I want you to do is show up. Show up. Let's say that there's a chair you sit in that positions you just right. And all I want you to do is come get in that chair. I'm going to turn the conveyor belt on. And maybe you can turn it off when you need a break. And you just show up and you let the conveyor belt run and you pull off defectives. Now, right away I can hear some of you, but what do you mean you're not measuring? What do you mean you're not counting? Well, I need to know how I'm doing. I need to know how I'm doing compared to other people. I need to have a goal to shoot for. That doesn't make sense. I want to measure my progress. Well, here would be my thinking. That's the external conditions to make this a great practicing, learning environment for you. And it's to counteract some of the internal barriers to you learning a new skill. Let's talk about some of those. Internal barriers to learning a new skill. And here's why this is important. There's some of you listening, maybe one of them right here in this condo with me, that kind of leans toward, because of life circumstances and because of different factors, if I can't do something well, I don't want to do it. Now, here's the problem. If my internal wiring is, if I can't do something really well, I don't even want to try, what does that eliminate automatically? It eliminates the learning curve. So here's the first internal barrier you've got to deal with, is you learn how to capture defective cookies on the conveyor belt. You're not going to be good at it at first. What? That's right. You're not going to be an expert out of the gate. You're just not. Now, some of you, you're done. You might as well turn this off. You're like, hey, I'm out. But here's the problem. Everything you currently do well, you started doing poorly. Everything you currently do well, you started doing poorly. And what did you do? You just kept showing up. A little child, baby, one-ish, give or take, learning to walk. Guess what? They try to walk a couple of times, fall down, and they say, screw that. I don't like failing. Well, guess what? We'd be carrying you around for the rest of your life. Well, what happens? You get up and try it again. And you get up, try it again. You get up, try it again. And eventually what happens is, you stay up a little while. Next thing you know, you're walking between mom and dad. Come here. And then turn around, come here. Next thing you know, it's like you just won the Nobel Peace Prize. Everybody's celebrating. What? You walked 2 feet, 3 feet. How did you learn to walk 2 feet, 3 feet? You just kept showing up. You kept getting up. Now, what are we talking about? Thought awareness training. We're talking about cookies on a conveyor belt. If you have, listen to this key thought. If you live with this sense of comparison. Now, here's the trick. The worst enemy is not comparing yourself to other people because there's nobody else in the room. What you're comparing yourself to is a phantom expectation of where you think you should be at, how good you think you should be. Well, notice the word I'm using, should. I should be here by now. Let's say you come in for your third round, fourth round, fifth round of practice. And you look at the end of, you take a break and you look and you say, oh my gosh, I'm still missing about 3 out of 4 or whatever. And you think, well, I should be better than that by now. Guess what? Are you going to be in a place of relaxed engagement? Are you going to be able to really focus on what's happening? No. You have internal distraction. What is it? Judgment. You're judging yourself against an artificial, unrealistic, unfair, probably unattainable standard. And you're probably measuring yourself against a standard no one has ever met before. So what are we talking about? Cookies on a conveyor belt. And how you can show up, practice, and get to the place that you are almost mindlessly, almost unconsciously able to pull out the defective cookies at almost a 100% proficiency. Now, how do you get there? You just keep showing up. Now, what in the world's that got to do with thought awareness training? I want you to think about it exactly the same way. Here's the key with thought awareness training. I just realized that I had a key little thought I wanted to throw in there, and my iPad just closed. But here's the little thought. You got to figure out how to create the optimum conditions for practicing thought awareness training, not for proficiency. Forget it. What if somehow we did this? You're going to get a reward. You're going to get the same amount of money paid if you just show up. I don't care how many defective cookies you notice. I don't care. I'm the boss. I'm the owner. All I want you to do is show up. If you show up, you're going to get paid. Here's what I know. No, that's just what you think. No, I know it. If you'll just show up in the way that I'm about to tell you, I promise you'll get better. How quickly? I don't know. Depends on your external distractions and your internal distractions, right? So here's what you got to figure out. Determine your sweet spot. What do I mean by that? Where's a good place for me to get quiet? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Where's a good place where I can consistently get quiet and just begin to practice pulling my defective cookies off the conveyor belt? And what I mean is just start recognizing your thoughts. For now, I don't mean your defective thoughts, but just start being aware, thought awareness training. So where can I do it? Number 2, when? What's the best part of the day? Morning? Should I get up a little bit earlier than everybody else? Lunchtime? Got a piece of hair sticking up, don't I? Later in the day? Where should I do it? Where could I do it consistently? What part of the day? When? Part of my lunch break. I slip off and hide somewhere. How long? In other words, start at a very, very, very repeatable 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And we're going to grow it. But where and when could I sit quietly? I'm in a little rocking chair on my porch. Where or when could I sit quietly for now, 3 to 5 minutes? And then how could I prime myself, prep myself? And here's what I mean by that. Some way that you remind yourself success is showing up. Success is showing up. Success is showing up. Success is showing up. I promise you, listen to me, man. I promise you, if you were to say, I'm going to go to this place at this time of the day, and I'm going to practice being aware of my thoughts, I promise you, you'll get better at it.